This is the Resurrected Hobbyist with part 11 of my long play feedback series on pairs. Last time, Dragon had just gotten back in the midst of her profiling mission, and she was having some difficulty on how to approach the mission, so she asked for an extension, but she was thinking that something's going on with Lammer, and she wanted to talk to him, but before she could, what was his name? Glassmaker? I have to look it up again. Showed up at her door. Sorry, minor technical glitch, had the audio set to the wrong thing. So anyway, let's pick up where we left off. The familiar voice surprises me. It's Glassmaker, Ricardo's old roommate. We haven't spoken since he moved out of Ricardo's room, and I'm still not sure why. A lot of possibilities, Dragon. Ricardo never told me when I asked, so the door slides open and shuts as the invisible natural walks into my room. How would you know he walked in and not just a glitch at the door? I mean, just saying. Oh, you got a little shadow there. Okay. What if we could set it up to do like a light refraction? Maybe a partial transparency. Anyway, okay, just speculating. Hey, you're that trainee from Team K, Glassmaker, right? How are you? I've told you time and again you should call me Victor. Okay, so he's a douche. The chair spins as he presumably sits in it. Right. Anyway, what brings you in? You, actually. I got you something. And we go from douche to potential creeper. There's a rustling plastic sound as a hibiscus bouquet appears. The brilliant red flowers bundled beautifully together. Okay. It's getting a little bit uncomfortable. I wonder for a second where they come from, but then I remember that Glassmaker can make things invisible too. Probably means people don't want to play him in poker. I reach out, then pull back my hand, staring at the flowers in bewilderment. What are these for? It's a congratulatory bouquet. Think of it as a sort of physical congratulations on receiving your first unsupervised mission. I heard about it, by the way. Yeah, about that creeper status. Oh, wow. I lean in, taking a deep whiff of the rich, sweet smell. Hibiscus is absolutely my favorite. Ricardo used to make flower crown illusions of them for me to wear when we were kids. You definitely shouldn't have. I lean away, scratching my neck slightly. Glamour and I actually had a joint mission. Are these for him too? Evil grin, points for that. I don't know, because if it's not, I wouldn't feel right accepting these without one for him too. Well, actually, they're just for you. There we go. Back to creeper status. I blink, looking from the flowers to the space above them where I assume his face would be. Don't look so surprised. I just feel like you probably worked hard, and when I saw this bouquet, I thought it matched your smile perfectly. They're both so beautiful, after all. Oh boy, Glass, you are laying it on thick, and that's coming from me, so that should tell you something. Beautiful. His compliments are embarrassing, but more than that, I have a feeling that his gesture is somehow loaded. You think? It seems weird for him to buy flowers for me and not Ricardo, especially when he's had even more interactions with Ricardo than with me. Glassmaker shakes the bouquet persuasively. I don't know if Ricardo's smile would look nearly as nice besides them. It stops moving directly in front of my face now. His voice is gentle, even a little persuasive as he lets out a little laugh. Please, take them. It would make me really happy. Okay, so half point off the creep scale. Well... Okay, so... There's no background information on what association Dragon has had with Glassmaker previously. The little bit of information that is here reads like friend of a friend, 2 years ago kind of thing. Be able to pick him out of a police lineup, but, isn't going to know, make and model of his car kind of thing. So, Glass is being a little forward. And I'll admit, personal perspective, if I were in Dragon's position, I'd be a little bit uncomfortable right now. But that's me, and I have paranoia problems, so, grain of salt. But again, she tends to leap before she thinks. And she's got a head full of thoughts right now. Well, regardless of Glassmaker's motive, good or bad, hibiscus flowers are my favorite. I smile brightly. Sure, I'll take them. I reach toward the bouquet and feel Glassmaker's fingers for the first time. Excuse me. His hands, from what I can feel anyway, are long and smooth. I don't know why it surprises me that much, but I find myself wondering what Victor actually looks like. Just random thought. Like, if Victor turns out to be a woman, I think that would be a hilarious and worthwhile twist. I could just see him going, yeah, Victor's short for Victoria. You never asked if I was a guy. Just thought. Random idea. I let out a chuckle. What? I was just thinking that most people wonder what I look like because I usually wear Ricardo's glamours. But just now I wondered what you look like. It had me thinking that I kind of understood what other people must feel when they look at me. Okay, showing a little empathy. Points. It's not outside the realm of character for her. Glassmaker chuckles. You'd be surprised how much in common we have. And that's 2 points on the creeper scale. His comment is curious. Not the word I would use. What do you mean? That would be the face I'd be making. Well, for one thing, even though both of us are hidden in our own way, beneath the thing that divides us from the world is something deeper. Projection? It'd be better if the world could see you. It's a shame you let glamour hide you away like that. I look up from the bouquet, startled. Ricardo doesn't hide me at all. It's to protect me. He's only... Protect you? Is that what he told you? Uh-huh. Glassmaker snorts. I feel something. A hand, maybe? Brush against my cheek. I hope it's a hand. You would want to harm someone so beautiful? Who would want to harm someone so beautiful? Uh-huh. Yeah, dude is obviously not familiar with the idea of xenophobia, bigotry, sexism, rape. Or he is familiar with those, and this is getting a whole lot creepier. I pull away from his touch. Classmate, I should go. Yeah, that would be a good choice right now. Abruptly, the door to my dorm opens and then seals with a hiss. I stare at the bouquet he's left behind. That was unexpected. Not an inaccurate word. I check the clock, letting out a sigh. I pick up the bouquet from off my bed. Breaking one of the stems, I stick it behind my ear, pinching it between two scales to keep it attached. It's gorgeous, but I wonder how he knew to get me hibiscus flowers. I leave the flower and the rest of the bouquet on my desk. I should go meet up with Ricardo. We need to talk. Excuse me. We're both quiet until we're absolutely certain we've gotten far enough away and that nobody's noticed us leaving. The park is the easiest to get to since if either of us spends any money, we'll be tracked easily. It's the best choice I think we could have made. I glance at Ricardo's face. He looks carefully thoughtful. Carefully thoughtful. Okay. I don't believe we're really sneaking out. I can't believe we're really sneaking out. This is what I get when I've been reading, art history, global politics, and trigonometry books for almost 11 hours today. I get to the point I can't read the words my eyes are looking at. I kind of agree with him. I just want to talk about us. But the way that conversation went, it seemed like coming out of here was inevitable, no matter what. I'm assuming that's supposed to be, it seemed like coming out to here was inevitable. My guess on that? I lift my shoulders mildly in response. You're the one who said you wanted to just be like old times. He looks over at me, his voice tinged with amusement. True, but I didn't think you'd actually... He freezes in fear as a police car flies down past the entrance to the park, sirens blaring, but it's not for us. Well, that's comforting. It speeds past us, my fears unfounded. I glance towards Ricardo, and the moment our eyes meet, we burst out laughing. I'm glad we came here. It feels like it's been so long since I had a breath of fresh air. I'm right there with you. I smile and sit down on a park bench. So, what do we do now? I hadn't thought that far, honestly. Anything we want, I guess. He lets out a sigh, and I settle down further into the bench a little, watching the sunset. I notice, though, that Ricardo is looking at me. What? Seriously, what do we do now? What, you never talked with a girl? I mean, come on. I've barely dated in 20 years, and even I've talked to girls. I haven't done anything like this in so long that no suggestions come to mind. Okay. We came out here to be like we used to be before we were a couple. But we want to be like we used to be because we're a couple now. Okay, so... Again, I'm still kind of confused by their relationship status. It's like, are they a new couple? Have they been a couple for several weeks? Have they been a couple for a few months? Did they just decide to become a couple and haven't actually gone out on a date yet? Like, where are they in the relationship? I feel a little more comfortable. If I concentrate on Ricardo without worrying about how to act around him, I can almost feel normal again. What is it that we need? More of the past of what we used to be, or more of the future of what we want to be? Oh boy. So, as I have said multiple times, Dragon strikes me as the kind of person who leaps first and then thinks about where she's jumping. But that means she's going to gravitate toward what she feels most comfortable toward, i.e. usually the past. But she is very specifically... operating out of her comfort zone right now. So, is she emotionally intelligent enough to continue operating out of her comfort zone? I don't believe so. I get the impression that she would make this first step out of her normal comfort zone, but by virtue of emotional context, tend to go for what she knows is comfortable, or feels is comfortable, so she's going to be reaching more for the past. An idea pops into my head. Oh, this isn't ending well. Follow me. Okay, this is probably not ending well. I hop up from the bench, measuring which of the trees looks suitable for climbing. When I find one, I look back to see that Ricardo still hasn't gotten up from the bench. Hey, you coming or not? He lifts an eyebrow. Somehow, I'm worried. Okay, not the response I would have expected. Ricardo stands slowly, brushing off his lap, and joins me at the base of the tree. You want to boost up? I can't help myself. I let out a snort. I should be asking you that. When we were kids, you had the worst grip ever. I mean, granted, grip is not inconsequential when you're climbing trees. But, as someone who, climbed everything as a child, I gotta be honest, core strength and shoulders make a lot more of a difference than grip strength. He looks at the tree, then back to me. I'm a lot stronger than I was back then. Basic training alone made me strong enough, I think. I would hope they do a lot of pull-ups in basic. His expression darkens. When people weren't cheating anyway. Do you remember Quicket? Oh yeah, I think siphoning kinetic energy from the other runners during a 2-mile run is cheating too. Siphoning kinetic energy from the other runners. Oh yeah, I would definitely call that cheating in a run. You definitely would have won otherwise. Looking up at the trees, Ricardo glances back at me. Wait, there aren't any low branches. I open my mouth, but he finishes his own sentence. Hence you asking me if I wanted a boost. Right you are. I get down on one knee and weave my fingers together to provide a starting point for Ricardo to step on. He places his hands against the tree trunk, but leaves most of his weight with me. Just as he starts to pull himself up, I heave. Ricardo practically leaps through the leaves, catching himself on a higher branch and planting himself there. You okay? Yeah, my life flashed before my eyes a little bit, though. I can hear the laughter in his voice. I've missed hearing it. I just thought about the time you beat Steel Blue in grappling. No one believed that someone so small could do it. Never underestimate the little ones. Also the quiet ones. Also the nerds. I laugh up at him. Isn't that what people started rumors that I was an illusion hidden by you? He snorts. Yeah, I've even heard that one of the stories they tell new recruits is about a trainee who is 8 feet tall and endowed with super strength, but no one ever saw her face. I mean, come on. The illusion bit is technically true, but that rumor stayed alive for the stupidest of reasons. Yeah, well, rumors tend to do that. He leans against the trunk, sticking his hand down toward me. You want help getting up? No, I'm not sure what, but something stops me. It's true that I don't need it, but actually, yes, that would be great. Just don't claw me up. Ricardo smiles as I latch onto his wrist with my right hand and dig into the rough bark with my left. He braces himself against the trunk and pulls me up after him. I push with my feet as best I can, and after a bit of panicked rearranging, we're sitting side by side on the lowest possible branch. Is this high enough for you? His expression looks serious enough, but I can tell from the look in his eyes that he already knows my answer. I've always been a roll-in-the-mud kid, after all. He answers his own question. Of course not. It's a bit of a struggle, but by alternating who's going up and who's pulling or pushing, we manage to get up into the higher branches of the tree. I notice as we climb that it's a lot taller than it looked from the ground. It seemed the shadows were hiding its real height. Oh, memories. I squint upwards through the leaves above us. I want to go up further, but there's no more branches that could hold our weight. Yeah, that would have been something I would have liked to have been able to tell when I was 6. Instead, I reach up and bat at them, trying to knock out a little viewing window for us to see the stars. Ricardo gets the idea and helps me out, pulling down a few small twigs covered in leaves that block our line of sight. Finally, the sky. The stars were just beginning to make their appearance on their massive universal stage. Can you make a constellation, Ricardo? There's an interesting question. I think there's already a lot of stars, but I could make you an illusion of one more, if you want. I think there's already a lot of stars, but I guess I could make you an illusion of one more. Oh, okay. If you wanted. I shake my head. No, not like that. I just mean like, a story about one of them. Go check out Clash of the Titans. The 80 version, not the 2010 version or whatever it was. I lean my head on his shoulder and let myself just breathe. Taking in the cool evening air, he's warm, comfortable. Lying with him just like this, it's like we're children again. I can't imagine being this close to someone else in my entire life. You see that little one to the right of the moon? I see it, said with her eyes closed. So from that one, draw a line upwards and to the right. And from that one, again, and then down to the right twice. Okay, I got it. What is it? It's called The Mountain. Maybe it's because I'm drowsy, but the voice sounds distant somehow. A cold shiver makes me squeeze myself closer to Ricardo. Be careful. I sit up and notice the tiny ribs in his shirt where I gripped him too tightly. Oh, sorry, No, you're fine. I don't mind you leaning closer. I wave it off, embarrassed. I don't want to hurt him either. I sit up beside him after that, my arm just barely touching his. You were telling me about the mountain? Ricardo rubs his chin, thinking. I don't mind. I can wait. The mountain started out as a very small speck of dirt. It didn't have any friends or family, and no one passing by even noticed it. One day, there was an earthquake. Unfortunately, the speck of dirt got tossed all around and eventually fell down a big hole in the ground that had opened up. It was even more alone than it used to be. The speck of dirt was sad to be alone, but the earthquake wasn't finished. The ground shook again, and more dirt and rocks fell in. The speck of dirt climbed on top of... A speck of dirt climbed? I mean, the speck of dirt was already feeling lonely for not having friends, and you're going to question it climbing? Really? Come on, dragon. Ricardo shoots me a look. Who's telling this story again? You. Then, he trails off pointedly. Fine, point taken. So our speck of dirt can climb now. He lets out a quiet laugh. Right. The speck of dirt climbed to the top of the pile and waited for more to fall in. And it felt a little better, and a little less alone. And more dirt and rocks kept falling in until they were back up to the top of the hole. Suck it all, you guys under me. I had to climb over your bodies to get up here. I ain't apologizing. After so long alone, the speck of dirt had a whole family now that it's standing on top of. Okay. He feigns an annoyed look at me. I feel like there's a phrase that applies well here. Just one. Namely, beggars can't be choosers. I lift my shoulders. Just giving honest feedback. Pretty sure I said early on that I identify with dragon. Anyway, to the speck's surprise, the pile of dirt kept growing even after the earthquake had long passed. It grew and grew and grew until where that little speck of dirt had once been was a giant mountain, and sticking at the very top was the speck of dirt. I finished the sentence with him, smiling. So really the constellation's name should be the speck of dirt on top of a mountain. I think the speck deserves a whole constellation, don't you? He smiles and suddenly reaches toward my face, his expression tender. I don't mean to move at all, but I flinch away from his touch. It just doesn't feel... He surprised me. I wasn't expecting it. Even in the darkness, I can see the hurt in Ricardo's wide eyes as he hastily pulls my hand away, like I've burned him. We're both silent for a long moment before I break the quiet with an awkwardly sputtered word. That was a nice story. Thank you. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and call it here for part 11. We'll pick up the date in the next part. I will say that at this point, I'm getting a better idea of Dragon as a person. It's kind of reinforcing my earlier idea that she tends to jump first and then think about where she's going to land. And that has caused her more than a few problems. Ricardo is much more level-headed and even-tempered. I am going to be honest and say that Glassmaker's kind of inching up on my creepy meter. I mean, even for, a dude who's 350 pounds. Yeah. I would be uncomfortable with him around, assuming it is him. But again, characters are fairly well written. It's easy to empathize with them and kind of get in their heads. So, be sure to catch me for part 12.